Hot AC, it's a format that in the late 90s and early 2000s was on fire. There was all over the place. But it had a different sound than it has today. Today it's way more mainstream. We're going to talk about that, but also we're going to go through that format by the numbers. Let's do that now. All right, buckaroos, we're going to skip a lot of the stuff that, normally I had put in the front of these videos and go right to the data because we've already done a whole bunch of these. And this time we are doing Hot AC. Again, this is the top 12 markets only. It's come up, a few people have sort of asked, and, we're talking about, say, the Jack format or country or something, and go like, wow, these are a lot of number one stations in different cities. But they don't happen to be in the top 10 or 12, which is what we're looking at here. A lot of times when you drop down into a market like Pittsburgh or Dayton, Ohio, or Nashville or something, different formats come up where they're not that strong in big markets for whatever reason. Hot AC, top 12 markets. See the ones right here with the triple X's and the 2X's and then the 1X's. Every one of these stations are top 10. The triple X is an extremely strong radio station radio-wise. The double X is real strong too. I would love to be the GM of either one of those stations. And then the 1X's, they're totally good too. They're also top 10s. So when we start to look at the numbers, refer back to those X's if you're kind of wondering, gee, I wonder what I should do. So as always, let's start on the left, overall plays, and go through it. They're not that far away from the average 2350. I mean, they range from in the 2500s down to the 2200s. So there's, roughly 250 song difference. Out of 2500 songs, it's not a huge amount of difference there. Unique titles. And this is where it's kind of interesting to kind of match those up. This is the only amount of songs that they play, 195. That's it. Try that on for size for a second. Man, that's not many songs. Now, if you can go to another number exactly like that, pretty much 199, you're only off 4 titles, but yet they're not one of the really strong. This is like super strong, and this is not in the top 10. Still kind of okay, station ratings-wise, but, I mean, big difference, but yet the same amount of titles. The average being 298, so let's just round it off to 300. So the average is 300. But yet this station is only at 200. It's, a third less of the amount of songs. Over to the current titles. Again, smallest amount of titles. This is really a tight radio station. 30 titles. All the rest have more. This is the closest one at 35, which does okay. But it has more unique titles. And the average being of these 46 songs of currents. Moving over to recurrents, and you'll notice these red numbers here. I'm going to go through those in a second. Looking at the recurrent titles, again, really low, not the lowest. This one's got 13, but only 16 titles. The average is 24, and they played them 414 times. So 16, 19, 34, I mean, you can see the numbers. You can see what they are. But when you look at this gives you a better idea of what's going on. Now, there's a bit of an assumption with this math as to what this 16 titles and how they rotate. I'm assuming every one of these are equal, okay? Again, this is only in a week, so it's 7 days. So, they probably hopefully don't have tiers of strength within the recurrents if there are only 16 of them. They probably just have 16 and they rotate equally. And if that's the case, if you divide 414 overall plays by the recurrents, you divide that by 16 recurrents, you're going to get that 26 times in a week, a recurrent, each one of them, plays. So each recurrent is going to play 26 times, okay? Now if you divide this by 7 days in a week, you get an idea of how fast they come around. So 3 7s are 21, 4 7s are 28, so this thing is a little under 4 times a day. These are almost like current songs, which is maybe why there's only 30 current titles, actual current titles, is because they're playing these recurrents almost like a B rotation. 17 spins in a week, that would be the slowest rotations of recurrence, which is a little over 2 times a day. So obviously this is spread out, so maybe it's turning every 9 hours, somewhere in there. Okay, so that's the recurrence. Now let's move over to the gold titles. Let's start over here on the average year for a second. 216 is the average year, and they're all pretty close. 216, this is 2 down, this is right on it. 2 down, 1 down. For the actual gold titles, not a lot of gold because a lot of these stations, just like the unique titles, they don't play many different types of titles at all. 149 is the amount of gold. 192, 242, 249, 240, and so forth. Moving to the page with all of the formats on it so you can see all of the numbers and compare them. Hot AC right up here, it's the fourth one being added in. And the reason it's the fourth one instead of the bottom like on all the other lessons, because over on the right hand side, I just put the average years in order. These are the most recent years, and these are the oldest stations. They average 1981. So CHR down to classic rock, not a lot of surprise there. I mean, these are where the gold stations are. Active rock, adult hits, classic rate, AC, and so on and so forth. Basically from here down to the gold stations. So I'm not going to dwell on this page because the next lesson we're going to really pick this apart, and I'm going to sort this just like I did here. I'm going to sort this in a whole bunch of different ways, and it'll be a great frame of reference lesson for you to go back to when you want to know what stations do, how much songs do they play, what's the deal here, format by format. Next week's lesson will be that and then some. Until then, see ya!